Welcome to Dr. CM Edcast, your go-to resource for medical learning. Through discussions, case studies, tutorials, and debates, we help you learn, grow, serve.
Have you ever stopped to think about what's keeping you alive right this second? Your heart is beating, you're breathing, your body temperature is perfectly stable, all without you lifting a finger. Well, there's a silent, powerful system running in the background, a kind of master conductor for your internal world. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this incredible network, the autonomic nervous system.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get a handle on its role as the body's automatic pilot. Then, we'll meet the two stars of the show, the sympathetic system, your fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic system, its rest and digest partner. After that, we'll get into the chemical language they use to talk to each other, and finally, we'll see how this whole thing stays in a perfect, life-sustaining balance. All right, let's start at the beginning. The best way to think about the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS for short, is as the true unsung hero of your body. It's the master regulator, working tirelessly behind the scenes, totally below the level of your conscious thought. So, what does it actually do? Well, at its core, the ANS controls all your internal or visceral organs. Think heart, stomach, intestines, the works. Its number one job is to maintain a stable internal environment, a state we call homeostasis. You can think of it like your body's internal thermostat, always making these tiny, crucial adjustments to your heart rate, blood pressure, and digestion to keep everything running just right.
Now, how it's wired is really interesting and reveals a huge difference. See, when you decide to, say, move your arm, a single nerve cell, a single neuron, carries that command straight from your spinal cord to the muscle. Simple. But the ANS, it's different. It always uses a two-neuron chain. The first neuron starts in the brain or spinal cord and connects to a second one in a little hub called a ganglion. Then, that second neuron carries the signal to the organ. This two-step relay is the defining feature of the whole system.
Okay, let's get into our first major division, the sympathetic system. You should think of this as your body's gas pedal. It's the system that gets you ready for intense physical action, whether you're facing a real danger or, just stressing about a big meeting. It's all about mobilizing your resources. So where do these signals come from? The nerves for the sympathetic system actually pop out from the middle part of your spinal cord, and its wiring is really distinct. Those first nerve fibers are short, connecting almost immediately to a chain of ganglia that runs right alongside the spinal cord. From that chain, long fibers then stretch out to pretty much every organ in your body. This structure is the key to how it works. And this map shows us why that setup is so brilliant. Because those ganglia are all linked up in a chain, the sympathetic system can sound a single body-wide alarm. It's like flipping one switch that turns everything on. If you trace these lines, you can see how the signals just explode outwards, affecting tons of organs all at once. Your eyes, your heart, your lungs. It's built for a massive coordinated response.
So what does this fight or flight response actually feel like? Well, your pupils get wider to let in more light so you can see better. Your heart starts pounding, beating faster and harder to pump oxygen everywhere. Your airways open up to get more air in. And here's the kicker. It tells your adrenal glands to dump adrenaline into your bloodstream, which just supercharges this entire state across your whole body.
Of course, for every gas pedal, you absolutely need a brake. And that brings us to the second division, the parasympathetic system. If the sympathetic system is all about spending energy, the parasympathetic system is all about saving it. This is your rest and digest mode that kicks in when things are calm and quiet. Anatomically, this system is almost a perfect mirror image of the sympathetic one. Its nerves come from the very top, the brainstem, and the very bottom of the spinal cord. And notice the wiring difference. The first nerve fibers are really long, traveling almost all the way to their destination. The ganglia, those connection points, are actually located on or right next to the target organs, which means the second fiber is super short. And this structure allows for much more specific, fine-tuned control. Instead of a body-wide alarm, the parasympathetic system can dial in on a single organ and tell it what to do. You can see its pathways are way more targeted. And get this, a huge chunk of this system is handled by one critical nerve, the vagus nerve, which kind of wanders through your torso, talking to your heart, your lungs, and most of your digestive system. So let's compare its effects directly to what we saw before. The parasympathetic system makes your pupils smaller, since you don't need all that light when you're relaxed. It slows your heart rate down, telling it to take it easy. It constricts your airways because you're not breathing heavily, and it gets your digestion going by stimulating things like your salivary glands. Every single action is about conservation and general upkeep. Okay, so we've got these two amazing networks. But how do they actually send their signals? They don't use wires. They communicate with a very precise chemical language. They release specific molecules called neurotransmitters, which then lock onto receptors on the target organs. This diagram really clarifies that chemical language. It basically boils down to two main messengers. Acetylcholine, we'll call it ACH, and norepinephrine, or NE. And here is the most important thing to see here. All of those first preganglionic neurons in both systems speak the exact same language. They all release acetylcholine. The real difference, the new word in the conversation, happens at that final connection with the organ. This basically gives us two chemical systems. There's the cholinergic system, which uses acetylcholine. That's the language of the entire parasympathetic system at the organ level. So when it's time to rest and digest, the message is sent with ACH. On the flip side, you have the adrenergic system, which uses norepinephrine. That's the language of the fight-or-flight response for most sympathetic nerves. But it's not just about the chemical messenger. It's also about the lock that it fits into, the receptor on the cell's surface. Think about it. The same key, the same neurotransmitter, can open totally different doors, depending on the lock. So acetylcholine has its own special receptors, and so does norepinephrine. And this incredible variety of receptors is what allows for such an amazing level of fine-tuned control all over our body. So now, let's put it all together. Because these two divisions, they aren't just simple on and off switches. They are in a constant, dynamic dance with each other, a delicate balance of opposing forces that is absolutely essential for keeping us alive. This table is the perfect summary of the key differences we've covered. On one side, you have the sympathetic system, originating in the middle of the spine, built for a widespread fight or flight response, and mostly speaking with norepinephrine. On the other side, the parasympathetic system, originating at the top and bottom, designed for a targeted rest and digest job, and speaking with acetylcholine. They are perfect functional opposites. And this fundamental principle is called antagonistic control. Most of your vital organs are getting signals from both of these systems at the exact same time. The overall state of your body is just the result of the constant push and pull between the two. It's exactly like having both an accelerator and a brake pedal for your heart. It allows for incredibly precise regulation. You're not just flooring it or slamming on the brakes. And this brings us to one last really important question. This whole beautiful system is built on a very delicate balance. So, what happens when that balance gets thrown off? When it's lost, you can get conditions like autonomic failure, which can cause all sorts of problems from fainting spells to serious digestive issues. It really just highlights how absolutely critical this silent automatic system is for our health and for our lives.